ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत श्रीराधाकांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्रीराधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. On behalf of ISKCON Chennai, I have great pleasure to welcome all participants for today's discussion on the 15th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is. The chapter is entitled The Yoga of the Supreme Person or Purushottama Yoga. Purushottama Yoga. Uttama Purusha, the highest, greatest Purusha. So we are going to be talking about him today. If you remember in the 13th chapter, Arjuna asked Krishna about who is Purusha and who is Prakriti. Purusha is translated as the enjoyer and Prakriti is translated as the enjoyed. In other words, Purusha is translated as the masculine and Prakriti as the feminine. So the nature, material nature is what is enjoyed and she is Prakriti. And Purusha is the enjoyer, that is the masculine. So who is the greatest enjoyer? That's what we are going to be discussing today in greater detail. In 13th chapter itself, we came to know that this body is called Kshetra, or in other words, Prakriti is Kshetra, that is the field of activity. And the soul within is the enjoyer or Purusha, and he is the knower, or we call Kshetrajna, one who knows the field of activity. And then Krishna said, understand Arjun, there is one more Purusha sitting in everyone. Even though each body has a different soul, but the super soul in every body is the same. It is like a reflection of the moon in so many parts of water. So that Parama Atma or the Supreme Soul is actually an expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. So that is what we are going to be discussing in greater detail today. But in the first 4 shlokas, Krishna will discuss something very, very interesting. We will go into that now. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 15, shloka number 1. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Urdhvamulam Adhashakam Aswattam Prahuravyayam Chandamsi Yasya Parnani Yastam Veda Savedavit. Urdhvamulam Adhashakam Aswattam Prahuravyayam Chandamsi Yasya Parnani Yastam Veda Savedavit. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upward and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas. So here Krishna is referring to a special kind of tree. You can call it as the banyan tree, or you can call it the people tree, Aswatha, people tree, which everybody worships. Banyan tree, people tree, both are worshipable. And Krishna is saying it is an Ashwatha tree, imperishable tree. But this is a very unusual tree that Krishna is talking about. Its roots are upward and its leaves are downward. Imagine such a tree. Where have we seen this kind of a tree? And then Krishna explains, but this is an imperishable tree. That means it has been there from time immemorial. This tree has been growing from above, the roots are above, and the trees, the trunk, and the branches, and the leaves are all down below. And the tree is covered by a huge canopy of branches and leaves and flowers and fruits. Nobody can imagine the size of this tree. And the leaves of the tree are actually the Vedic hymns. Hymns means the shlokas, the shakas of the Vedas. The word Veda actually means knowledge. We say Vidya. The word Vidya is coming out of Veda. So Veda means basically knowledge. So this knowledge in the Vedas is perfect. Why? Because Vedas are called Apaurushayam. Apaurushayam means not made by any human being. It has descended directly from God. It is said the breathing of God is actually Vedas. That means the essence of creation is contained in the Vedas. It is also said when Garuda flutters his wings, the Vedic sounds come out of that. So Vedas are very special. They contain all knowledge of both material and spiritual subject matter. And anyone who follows the instructions of Vedas in their life, they will be able to achieve perfection gradually. So the Vedas are supposed to offer 4 kinds of benefits. They are called Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Dharma means it teaches you what is morality and what kind of behavior is expected of you. Actually, when we talk about the Varnashrama Dharma, the Varnashrama Dharma is what is arising out of the Vedic scriptures. And the Vedic scriptures divides the human society into 4 distinct identities based on the gunas. Like Brahmanas are supposed to be in Sattva Guna purely, which means they are always looking to expand their knowledge, true knowledge. They are always looking for the absolute truth. They are not interested in the lesser truths of this material world. They realize that I am not the body, I am the occupier, I am the temporary tenant of this body. I want to know my true nature, and I want to know from where I come. I want to know God, which in other words, they want to know the source of everything. So they are called Brahmanas, and they are purely in Sattva Guna. Then you have the Kshatriyas who are passionate about achieving things. They are always working towards achieving the results and enjoying the results. They are in the mode of passion. They are called Kshatriyas. They make the best administrators of society. Then you have Vaishyas who are predominantly in Tamogun, but they also have mixture of Rajogun in them. So Rajo Tamogun combination is called Vaishya. They engage in agriculture, maintaining cows, and trading in agricultural products. So they are called Vaishyas. And ultimately we have the Shudras who are always said to be in Tamogun. Tamogun means a person who doesn't know right and wrong, and actually he thinks wrong as right and right as wrong, which means he is constantly looking for only sense pleasures. He does not realize that he is a spirit soul who is trapped in this material body, and true happiness is in liberating the soul from this body. So such a person is called Shudra. So the Vedas, after classifying the population into these 4 groups, it lays down distinct responsibilities for each group of people. A Brahmana should do Brahminical duties, Kshatriya should do Kshatriya duties, because they are classified on the basis of their nature. As I said, the gunas. The guna is inherent in that person. So they are best suited to discharge a specific kind of roles. So when the society is so beautifully organized, then everybody makes progress. We can understand that the four categories of people are not equally advanced. We have already discussed this in 13th and 14th chapters, that man is not born equal. Why? Because it is the soul which is taking birth in different bodies. Like if you say the soul in 84 lakh species of life, they are all equal, but the bodies are not equal. Somebody in a lion, you cannot, in the body of a lion, you cannot say he is equal to someone who is in the body of an elephant or in the body of an ant. Each of them needs to be taken care of in a different way. If you take care of an elephant and an ant in the same way, both of them will be unhappy. So similarly, the souls are taking birth in human bodies. These souls have brought with them different kinds of karma. So they must be taken care of on the basis of the gunas that they have already developed through their past lifetimes. And this is achieved through the Vedas. So the Vedas guide you how to lead your life according to proper dharma. That is called the first step, dharma. Vedas contain dharma. And by living life according to dharma, one is supposed to earn wealth, not by improper means. So then you get dharma followed by artha. You earn what you deserve to earn by proper means. That means when you are doing your occupation, you don't incur sin. When you do your occupation according to your original nature, as instructed by Vedas, we don't incur sin. Though, so once we have this artha, then we proceed to fulfill our kama. Kama means, why did we take birth? We have taken birth only to satisfy our desires. So that is the purpose of this existence. Until we don't realize that we are spirit souls and we are trapped here, till such time we are only trying to enjoy our senses. So Vedas will tell you how to satisfy your legitimate desires. That means Vedas are constantly telling you only try to satisfy legitimate desires, because these desires are like a fire which is burning since time immemorial. And if you try to put out the fire by putting ghee on it or by adding firewood, then when the fire will burn out? If you are adding fuel, the fire will burn. Now you can see from practical example, our film industry, a few decades ago, all films were made about God. The themes were about God and the devotees. So the film industry started. Then they started coming up with social themes, but basically moral themes. The good people will win in the end, bad people will suffer in the end, and everybody will go home happy. Then they slowly started moving towards immorality. So this is what actually happens. The karma, if it is not properly controlled and directed on the basis of scriptures, the karma goes haywire. And everybody trying to fulfill all kinds of desires, then the society becomes degraded. Now our film industry is teaching all kinds of immorality, and they also claim we are leading the society. They consider themselves leaders of the society because they put such themes, they call it so bold. The shameless themes, they have renamed it as bold themes. And shameless people who act in such movies, we call them as bold people. So by just renaming them, we are giving legitimacy to illegitimate activity. I'm just giving you this as an example. So dharma is the starting point of human existence, and then we have to earn wealth by following dharma. Then using that wealth, we should satisfy our legitimate desires. What are the legitimate desires? One wants to get married, one wants to have children, one wants to lead a comfortable life, and one wants to bring up the children in a proper way, teaching them good morality. so that they can live a happy life and at the same time progress towards spiritual consciousness. So these are your legitimate desires. So that is karma and ultimately moksha. So the Vedas show the way to all these things, the four steps. Moksha means liberation, which means we should not be taking birth again. And under the category of karma, I can also mention not only enjoyment in this material world, but also enjoyment in heavenly planets is covered by Vedas by performing different kinds of sacrifices to satisfy different demigods and ultimately Lord Vishnu. We can also, at the end of this lifetime, transfer ourselves to heavenly planets where we can enjoy so many pleasures which are not even available in the material world. So, Krishna says the Vedic hymns are the leaves. So, this downward tree has unlimited leaves, and people who are attracted by the Vedic hymns, what they do, they are slowly improving their life from tamoguna to rajoguna to sattva and they are able to enjoy their life comfortably in this material world. They can go from this material, from this earth to heaven and enjoy a long time in heaven. Then they again, when the punya is finished, they come back to this world. Again, they perform sacrifices, austerities, and all. Again, they go to heaven. So, like that, their life continues in this cycle. They don't go down to hellish planets and they don't suffer too much in their lives if they follow the Vedic scriptures. And also, gradually purification takes place and the soul gives up the desire for material enjoyment in due course of time. It happens gradually. So the Vedas are meant for gradual advancement of the society, and Varnashrama system is the foundation of that society. The same soul in one lifetime, it may be a Brahmana, and in another lifetime, it may be a Kshatriya, yet another lifetime, it may be a Shudra. So the soul has no caste or creed or Varna. We have to understand that. Depending on what kind of karma we have accumulated, we are going to be put into a particular body. So we should never disrespect somebody as a low born, low caste, or Dalit, etc. Everywhere the soul is the same, equal in quality, all the souls. And also in every body, the Paramatma is also sitting. So how can we ill treat anybody even in our mind? Forget about actually ill treating them. Even in our mind, we should realize that in every body, the Paramatma is there and the Jivatma, which is equal to me, is sitting there. So I should never try to ill treat anybody or even wrongly think of them in my mind as inferior to me. Each soul in its own way is progressing towards God, and we should always cooperate with one another. This is the essence of Vedas. So Krishna says, you should not become attracted by the Vedic hymns. This is the essence of what Krishna is telling here. The leaves are the Vedic hymns, but we should try to know the tree itself. Then only we are the true knower of the Vedas. So those who know the Vedic hymns without understanding the aim of the Vedas, they are not the knower of the Vedas. Now Krishna will explain what is the purpose. So where on earth can we find such a tree which is growing downward? You can see there is a tree on the bank of the lake. It is growing upward, but there is also a tree growing downward, which is actually reflection on the water surface. So when we talk about a downward growing tree, we should understand that it is only a reflected tree. The real tree is the spiritual world, and the same tree is reflected in the material world, and that is what Krishna is talking about. So this tree, which is upside down, has roots growing upward, downward, and sideways. What do these roots represent? They represent our fruitive activities. We are always acting for the purpose of enjoying our senses. And that is how we are growing more roots. So the tree is very complicated. Even though the main trunk root is coming from Brahmaloka and growing downward, Brahmaloka is the highest point in material creation, and from there the tree is growing downward, and all the different leaves, they are offering different kinds of enjoyment. So sometimes you can go to heavenly planets, sometimes you can come and enjoy on this earth, sometimes you may go to even hellish planets. All these are part of the same tree. The different kinds of fruits and flowers are all growing on the same tree. And as long as we remain attracted to sense enjoyment, as long as we want to enjoy the various sense objects that are comparable to the fruits and flowers of this tree, we remain entangled in this material creation. When I say we, you should remember the souls. We are all souls, we are not the bodies. So we are talking about how our soul is trapped here, and the soul should liberate itself and go back to the spiritual world, which is the real world. In this world, everything is constantly changing. So this is, I am summarizing here, what is this tree? The downward growing tree, it is the tree of material existence. It is imperishable because our karma has no beginning, and it has an end only when we are liberated from material world and go back to Krishna. That is when this material existence ends. And the leaves are Vedic hymns which guide you how to enjoy this material world. If you don't follow the Vedic hymns, you will go down to hellish planets, because Vedic hymns are basically regulative guidelines. It teaches you how to live in this world so that you don't degrade yourself and expose yourself to different kinds of punishment by taking birth in inferior bodies. Apart from human body, there are so many lakhs of species in which we can take birth. So the Vedas are our only protection. If we are going to ignore the Vedas, if we are going to deride or criticize the Vedas, then we are finished. Our going down into inferior specimen is guaranteed. And the branches and twigs of the tree are basically our senses and sense objects. So what we are always trying to do with our senses, we are trying to enjoy the sense objects. And this is how the tree is getting so complicated. And what is nourishing this tree? The three modes of material nature. We all have learned from 13th chapter and 14th chapter, Sattva, Rajo, Tamo Guna. These are the three gunas which are inherent in material nature, and that is nourishing this tree, and this tree is growing so luxuriously, even though it is a illusory tree. It's not real, it's a reflection. And the roots are the fruitive acts of society, our attachments, aversions, our suffering, sense enjoyments. These are all the different roots. By undergoing different experiences and by owning those experiences as mine, actually they are not my experiences. These are all the interactions of the elements of material nature. If you remember, we talked about 24 different elements which are constituting this material nature. These are interacting, and that is producing attachment, aversion, suffering, and enjoyment. The soul is actually an observer. So, but when the soul attaches itself to the body, then these roots are going to bind us. So the primary root of the tree is in Brahmaloka. Other roots are in human planetary system, growing sideways, upwards, and downwards. If you are doing Sattva Guna, you grow upward. If you act in Rajo Guna, you are sideways. If you are acting in Tamo Guna, you are going down to hellish planets. So the real form of this tree is not what we are seeing. This material world to which we are so much attracted, this is not the real world. So the real form of the tree is not visible here. No one knows the beginning, end, and foundation except the purified devotees of Krishna. One who knows this tree knows the Vedas. So what we have to do now, after you know the tree, what you have to do? With determination and detachment, we must cut it. So we have talked so much about the tree. What for? So that we can become detached from the tree and we can cut it down with determination. Even though it will continue to attract us because of our past habits of enjoying the sensory pleasures, we have to determinedly, we have to cut this tree. And after cutting, what we have to do? We have to find out the source of the tree. Only after you cut it, you will start exploring where it is coming from. Beyond Brahmaloka is the supreme Brahman, which is the effulgence of Krishna. Beyond Brahman is the spiritual world, which is the real tree. And we have to know the source of that real tree is Krishna. And then we have to surrender to Krishna. And that is the perfection. So the tree Krishna has discussed so far is basically to let us know what it is, that it is an illusory tree. And only by cutting the tree down, we shall be able to know Krishna and develop love for Krishna. So this detachment from material world and attachment to Krishna, they happen simultaneously. And after that, we go back to the spiritual world. So the original tree is the perfect spiritual world. The reflected tree is the perverted material world. It is just reflecting the spiritual world. So if people tell you beyond this material world there is only shunya, zero, there is nothing, it's all only maya, please don't believe them. This material world is a reflection of the spiritual world, but it is a perverted reflection. The spiritual world is the internal energy of Krishna and it exists eternally. And when you go to the spiritual world, you can see Krishna face to face. Because Krishna is having a spiritual body, you will also get a similar spiritual body. Your body will be identical to the body of Krishna in the sense your body will no longer suffer from old age, disease and death. You will have an eternal body of Sat Chit Ananda. So the surrendered devotees who cut the tree by discrimination and performing bhakti to Krishna, they return to Krishna Loka and they get bodies similar to what Krishna is having. So this is a representation of this downward growing tree. You can see the spiritual world is on top, then you see Brahmaji, and then you see a bright sky above. That is the spiritual light which is coming from Krishna. And starting from Brahmadev downward, the illusory tree is growing. So how do we surrender to Krishna? After cutting the tree, we have to give up false prestige because we don't own anything. Nothing belongs to us. So we should give up this false prestige that I am the doer. And then we should give up the illusion that I am this body. And then we should also give up false proprietorship, saying this is me, this is my family, this is my community, this is my nation. All this proprietorship we should give up. And we should give up all duality of happiness and distress, honor and dishonor, knowledge and ignorance. These are all material. What we call knowledge here, it's all material knowledge, which is actually another form of ignorance. So we should give up all these dualities and we should give up material lust. If you remember, the lust is sitting in our senses, mind and intelligence, and also in the false ego. That lust we should give up. Lust for enjoying material sense objects, we should give up that. Then we have to cultivate spiritual knowledge of what is our own and what is not our own. What is our own? Pure consciousness and Krishna Prema are our essential nature. The constitutional position of the soul is to serve in love. To serve in love is the constitutional position of the soul. And who is the perfect recipient of our love and service? That is the Supreme Person, Krishna, Purushottama. Because he is the perfect reciprocator of our love. When you give love and you serve with love, if you get the perfect reciprocation from the other side, then your love and service continue to grow. And you enjoy greater happiness from that exchange. And this is the goal of attaining the Supreme Person. In this mood, we have to surrender fully to Krishna. So after this, Krishna is explaining the spiritual world very briefly. If you want to know more details, please stay with us. We shall be discussing Krishna Leela and other details after the Bhagavad Gita is over. We are still planning. We shall be exchanging a questionnaire with you. We request all of you to kindly respond. It will help us to assess what kind of requirements you all have so that we can customize our future presentations. So, but here Krishna is just giving a brief introduction, a curtain raiser to his planet, what it is like. न तद्भाषयते सूर्यो न शशाङ्को न पावकः यद्गत्वा न निवर्तन्ते तद्धाम परमं मम। न तद्भाषयते सूर्यो न शशाङ्को न पावकः यद्गत्वा न निवर्तन्ते तद्धाम परमं मम। The spiritual world is self-illumined. Our material world is illumined by the sun, the moon, fire, and electricity. But in the spiritual world, that supreme abode of mind is not illuminated by sun or moon or fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world. So, brief hint Krishna has given. The supreme abode is self-illuminated. This material world we all know is darkness. Only when the sun rises, the light comes out. Or in the night, when the moon rises, you get some natural light. Otherwise, you go for artificial lighting using fire or electricity. But spiritual world has its own effulgence. Everything in spiritual world has got its own effulgence. It can be compared to our body and our soul. If the soul leaves the body has no consciousness at all. The body does not feel anything. But when the soul enters the body, the soul becomes aware of the body, the consciousness. So you can compare the consciousness to light. So sun has got its own light. To see the sun, you don't need another light. So sun is self-illuminated. Similarly, the spiritual world is also self-illuminated. And in this chapter, Krishna says, in the next shloka, the sun, the moon, and the fire, they get their effulgence from me. So Krishna is the source of all light. So when he created this material egg, it's called Anda, Brahma Anda. The material world in which we are now living is called an egg. Inside the egg, what kind of light will be there? So Krishna enters into that egg in the form of sun, moon, or fire and gives light to us in this material world. But once we leave the Anda and go back to spiritual world, we are also effulgent and everything around us is also effulgent. So those who go there, they don't come back to this material world. Why? We came to this material world to enjoy, is it not? But we are not getting the enjoyment. But we don't know where to get that enjoyment. So we continue to struggle here. But once we go back to Krishna, we realize, oh my God, such perfect happiness, ever growing, ever new joy is available here. Then who will think of coming to the material world? So that way, a pure devotee who has got service to Krishna and enjoying reciprocation, he will never want to come back to this material world. So please understand, we have come to this material world because we wanted to come. These explanations you will get only in due course of time. In fact, these explanations you can understand only when you do sadhana. Otherwise, these answers will not make sense to you. If you are regularly chanting, if you are doing regularly Krishna Bhakti in the form of puja, arti, eating Krishna Prasadam, taking the association of devotees, regularly listening to Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, like that you have to do service, then you will understand. I am only giving you a hint. So pure devotees who are in the supreme abode, you can see in these pictures, the Gopa boys who are with Krishna, or the gopis, or the Nanda Maharaja, Yashoda Mai, the elderly people who are in the spiritual world, they are all pure devotees. Pure devotees means they have the knowledge of everything. As I already explained, knowing Krishna means knowing everything. So anyone who is performing bhakti to Krishna knows everything. They don't have to study the Vedas or anything else. They have gone beyond the Vedas, because the Vedas are only trying to teach us about Krishna. But those who are already performing bhakti to Krishna, they are already fully knowledgeable, even though they look like simple cowherd boys, playing with Krishna, eating with Krishna, laughing with Krishna. They are all pure souls who have perfect knowledge of everything. And having come to know about it, we should also aspire to go there. 7th shloka. Mamaivamso jivaloke jiva bhuta sanatanaha manasasthani indriyani prakritisthani karshati. ममैवांशो जीवलोके जीवभूतः सनातनः मनःषष्ठानि इन्द्रियाणि प्रकृतिस्थानि कर्षति. Translation. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with 6 senses, which include the mind. So, we are the living entities, which means the soul. Please don't confuse with the body. The body has nothing to do with the living entity. The body is simply the dress we are wearing. When I say living entity, remember that we are souls. But we have become conditioned by this world. So, we are all the parts of Krishna, Amsha, Mame Eva Amsha. We are all Amsha of Krishna. We are all his fragmental parts. But when I say parts, please don't assume the assembly of so many parts to make a television set or a washing machine or a refrigerator or a cupboard. So many parts we assemble and then finally we have a car or a lorry, something like that. We are not like that. Krishna is spirit, you know, and the spirit cannot be divided. If you recollect the second chapter, we read there that the spirit cannot be cut into pieces. It is indivisible. It is one. So how can there be parts to take out? So we have to understand spiritual mathematics is different. Purnamataha, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnamudachyate, like that the Ishopanishad says. Krishna is one whole, perfect whole. From that perfect, so many perfects are coming. We are also perfect. The material world is also perfect. Only perfect things come out from that perfect. But after so many perfect things come out of it, but still the perfect remains as it is. It is not diminished. 1 minus 1, 1. 1 plus 1, 1. This is spiritual mathematics. Please don't bring material conception of mathematics here. Spiritually, everything is different. So the soul is a part and parcel of Krishna and it is identical to Krishna in quality. But in quantity, Krishna is unlimited. The soul is so tiny, so minute. So the soul has no independence, very, very minute independence it has got. Krishna is completely independent. So Krishna is not controlled by the modes of material nature. Sattva, Rajo, Tamoguna cannot control him, but the soul gets controlled by this. That is so we have become conditioned. So to explain again, when our souls came into this material existence, we became conditioned by Sattva Guna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna. Somebody in Tamoguna, he is in utter foolishness and madness and laziness. He will do all nonsense. He will become a drunkard, he will become a drug addict, he will become a womanizer, he will become a criminal. He wants instant happiness and he is spoiling his own future. He is Tamogun. Then somebody is in Rajogun, he is passionately working for results. He wants to enjoy the results. He is working hard so that he can enjoy tomorrow. That is, then Sattva Guna, he is trying to cultivate pure knowledge. So these 3 types of gunas are conditioning the living entity. So Krishna says, having come into this material world, they are all struggling to find happiness with the senses, including mind, 6 senses. So they are trying to enjoy this tree of material existence. This is what Krishna is saying. So Krishna tells clearly, we are all his part and parcel, not only human beings, animals. Because inside animal, the same soul exists, what is in you. So let us not allow violence to animals. Let us not ill-treat animals or even plants. Plants also have got souls in them. So we should never try to exploit anything for our own happiness, our own sense enjoyment. We should use the resources of the world to the minimum required extent. We should not try to exploit. When we exploit, what happens? We become more conditioned. For our own good, we should not exploit others. Whether it is a tree or an animal, we should not exploit. So, animal killing will never allow us to liberate from this material world. That is to be taken for granted until we become purely vegetarian and we give up other vices like intoxication, illicit sex, and gambling. It is very impossible for us to decondition ourselves, to deprogram ourselves from this material existence. So here is in a small map I have just shown how the soul is migrating in this material creation. We are now in the middle planets, place of karma, and by our karma, sometimes we go upward to heavenly planets and enjoy for a long time, or if we do wrong acts, we go down to lower planetary systems to suffer for our wrong activities. Once we finish that, we again come back to the middle planets and perform karma. We do good karma, go to heaven, bad karma, go to hell, again we come back. This is the cycle which is going on. The soul is moving between the heaven and hell and the material earth by doing activities. But how to become free from here? Those who do Jnana Yoga, what you call transcendental knowledge, they go to Brahma Jyoti. And if they do further devotion to Krishna, they will attain Krishna. But the pure devotees or devotees like you and me, if we start doing bhakti now, we can go straight away to the highest position of Krishna Loka. We can directly join Krishna Loka. So Bhakti Yoga is one single arrow from material world directly to spiritual world. We are bypassing heavenly planets, we are bypassing Brahma Jyoti, and we are entering directly into Krishna Loka. So this is the best benefit that Bhakti is offering. Your Dhyana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga or Nishkama Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga, they cannot give you this ultimate benefit. So conditional existence, we are in conditional existence. What is that? We are migrating from body to body. That is our suffering. No? We are in one body, that body grows, then it matures, then it produces byproducts, then it starts dwindling, and then one day it dies. Then the soul leaves the body, it again enters another body, then again you are born, then you start growing, then you mature, then you produce byproducts, then you decay, and then you die. This is going on. And when the soul goes from one body to another body, the karmic impressions are carried into the next body through our subtle body. We have mind, intelligence, and false ego. These impressions are carried to the next body like air carries aroma of flowers or the stinking water from the gutter, the air carries. Similarly, your good things and bad things, they are carried by your consciousness, your subtle body. So we should be very careful never to accumulate bad impressions. It is like the air that is flowing over the gutter. We should always develop positive impressions in our heart, which is like the aroma of a rose garden. Then the soul takes the gross body in 84 lakh species. Depending on our vasana and karma, we are given different bodies to enjoy the sense objects. There are some enjoyments which only animals can have, humans cannot have. Like, the ability to hear so many different vibrations we don't have, animals have. Similarly, some things animals can see, we cannot see. So, in different species, the soul enjoy different pleasures. Like you see the pig, it enjoys eating stool of human beings. If there is a warm stool available, the pig will run there with great happiness. But we are not like that. So, depending on the desire the soul has, it will get a suitable body. And the Lord as Paramatma will go with that body. So that because the Lord remembers, the soul has forgotten everything. When the soul is moving from one body to another, its previous life it has forgotten, its desires it has forgotten. But the Lord is carrying it with him. Like if you compare the soul to a flower, the Supreme Lord sitting by the side of the soul, he knows the fragrance that is coming from the flower. Because he is sitting close to the soul, he knows the desires. And then he gives remembrance to that soul. Hey, you wanted to do this? Okay, now you go ahead and do. So the foolish souls will never understand that I am moving from body to body under the influence of the modes. But one who is trained, transcendentalist, or a pure devotee, he will see clearly that I am a soul and I am moving from body to body and I am suffering. And then he wants to become free. 13th shloka. गमाविश्य च भूतानि धारयाम्यहमोजसा पुष्णामि चौषधिः सर्व सोमो भूत्वा रसात्मकः गमाविश्य च भूतानि धारयाम्यहमोजसा पुष्णामि चौषधिः सर्व सोमो भूत्वा रसात्मकः. Krishna is describing his glories. Now we are talking about the Purushottama, how wonderful and glorious he is. He says, I enter into each planet and by my energy they stay in orbit. So you are now getting the answer. How does the sun stay in the sky? A huge globe. How is it staying in the sky? How the earth, Jupiter, Mars, Venus, Mercury, how they are all running around in their orbits for so long, they are not falling down. If man sends one satellite to space, it can stay there for maybe a few months or a few years. For that also it requires fuel or solar panels and so many other things. But these planets, they are running at thousands of times the speed of the satellite what man is launching. And they have been doing this for unlimited time. How is it possible? The sun has been burning for billions of years. How it is going on? Krishna explains, Arjun, I have entered each planet and I am supplying the energy by which they are staying in orbit. So I am the sun, I am the moon, I am the electricity and fire. Krishna says like that. So here Krishna says, the planets are in orbit by my energy. And also, as moon, he is performing a special role. The moonlight is what gives juice to vegetables. Whatever we are eating, the grains and vegetables, they get their taste and they get the nourishment from the moonlight. Sunlight gives life, moonlight gives the juice of nourishment into these vegetables. We try to eat different vegetables and we relish them, that is coming from the moon. So solar system, by sun's energy, the planets and the galaxies are staying in space. Imagine the power, the majestic power of Krishna. And the moon, it is nourishing the plants with wonderful vitamins and minerals, everything the moon is supplying, and the vegetables are becoming succulent and tasty. 14th shloka. Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Dehamashritah Pranapana Samayukta Pachamyannam Chaturvidham. Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Dehamashritah Pranapana Samayukta Pachamyannam Chaturvidham. Krishna is telling how he is in our body. I am the fire of digestion in the bodies of all living entities. And I join with the air of life, outgoing and incoming. Outgoing air is called apana, incoming air is called prana. So prana apana samayukta. Pachami annam chaturvidam. I digest 4 kinds of foodstuff. What are these 4 kinds of foodstuff? In our scriptures, everything is explained perfectly. 4 kinds of foodstuff means some kinds of food we lick, like payasam, we lick it. And then we suck some of them. We drink a glass of juice, you suck it. Or you are chewing something. Or you are swallowing something. 4 kinds of eatables, So Krishna says, all these things you eat, I am digesting. So your hunger is given by that fire, digestive fire in your stomach, gives you hunger. Because of that, you like to eat something. But after you have eaten also, that fire is digesting whatever you are eating. Otherwise, even though I say I am the Purusha in this body, I am the enjoyer in this body, but what I know about my own body, until Krishna says, we would never have understood how we are digesting, how we are assimilating the nourishment from the food we are eating, how we are eliminating the waste products from our body, how we are circulating the nourishment throughout our body, how the respiration process is going on, by which oxygen is supplied to the whole body and carbon dioxide is extracted and eliminated from the body. All these systems, Krishna is sitting inside and performing. You see our temperature we always take, the body remains warm because Krishna is there in our stomach as fire. And this fire is available throughout the body. So when we eat irresponsibly for sense pleasure, it is Krishna who is digesting it. We eat so many unnecessary food. We even cause suffering to other living entities for simply satisfying our tongue. But if Krishna was not digesting it inside, how can we relish eating anything at all? So we have to become grateful to Krishna for so many hidden ways in which He is allowing us to enjoy this material world. But we should become responsible in our eating habits also. We should not eat simply for the taste of our tongue. We should eat for maintaining our body and soul together. That is the main purpose of eating food. And our main aim is to go back to Krishna, not to be trapped here in this material world forever. We want to go back to Krishna. That should be our aim. So we have to all become grateful, then we can develop love for Krishna gradually in our heart. 15th shloka. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matta smritirjnanam apohanam cha vedaischa sarvairahameva vedyo vedanta kritveda videva chaham. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matta smritirjnanam apohanam cha vedaischa sarvairahameva vedyo vedanta kritveda videva chaham. You can see Veda comes so many times in this shloka. We will see the translation. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. So Krishna says, from the Veda, only I am to be known. In other words, Vedas describe only Krishna. But we read it foolishly because we don't have the right kind of guru. We don't have the proper Guru Parampara, bona fide Guru Parampara. So we are all misunderstanding the Vedas and we are doing it wrongly. So what is happening? We are not becoming free. We are not becoming liberated. We are becoming more and more conditioned. Once we understand the aim of Vedas is to know Krishna, then we can quickly start doing bhakti to Krishna. When you become a bhakta, you already know the Vedas. There is no need to read the Vedas. Because Vedas, the aim is to let you know Krishna is the Supreme Lord and to serve Him. But if you already started serving Him, you are fulfilling the purpose of the Vedas. That is the message Krishna is giving. I have compiled the Vedas so that you can know me. So Krishna compiled the Vedas. And through the Vedas, Krishna is exhibiting Himself to us. And who really knows the Vedas fully? Only the maker of the Vedas, that is Krishna, knows. So when Krishna speaks Bhagavad Gita, you should not think, no, Vedas are something else. No, the same maker of the Vedas is here giving you the essence of the Vedas. That is why Adi Shankaracharya in Gita Mahatmyam, he says, Eko Vedo Devaki Putra Gitam. He says there is only one Veda for the whole mankind. And what is that? Devaki Putra Gitam, Bhagavad Gita. Eko Devo Devaki Putra Eva. He says there is one God for all humanity, and that is Devaki Putra Krishna. And there is one Veda for all humanity, and that is Bhagavad Gita given by Krishna. So this Bhagavad Gita, what you are reading, you are actually studying the end of Vedas. Veda Anta. Anta means end, conclusion. Vedanta means conclusions of the Vedas. So through Bhagavad Gita, you have read all the 4 Vedas. There is nothing left for you to learn. But I will still not agree that you have learned the Vedas unless you become a devotee of Krishna, because there is a purpose of the Vedas. If after attending this class, if you all become devotees of Krishna and you start performing devotional service as we have been describing, then you become masters of the Vedas. You have already understood the Vedas. If somebody says, have you read the Vedas? Yes, I am following the conclusions of the Vedas. So I am a master of all the Vedas. This is how we should be. And Krishna says, I am seated in everyone's hearts. We already know He is the Paramatma. And from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Like I was explaining, we don't even remember what we ate yesterday, what dress we wore yesterday. Last week at this time, where was I? We have no memory at all. Krishna gives the remembrance at the appropriate time to the soul. Sitting by the side of the soul, Paramatma reminds the soul, hey, you wanted to do this. Then the memory comes to the same way. Krishna makes you forget also. When the soul leaves one body to another body, the soul forgets everything. by the mercy of Krishna. If I remembered all my previous births, what a terrible life I will have. Or even in this one life, if I constantly remember all the mistakes I have done, then can I live for even one day? So Krishna gives forgetfulness, and he gives remembrance, and he gives knowledge. If you want to know material things, he gives you knowledge of material things. But when you want to know Krishna, then he gives you spiritual knowledge. तेषाम् एवानुकम्पार्थम् अहम् अज्ञानजं तमः नाशयामि आत्मभावस्तो ज्ञानदीपेन भास्वता. For those devotees who want to know Krishna, he removes ignorance from their heart by lighting the lamp of wisdom. So Krishna gives knowledge. We don't have to go in search of knowledge. If you are serving Krishna as a devotee, the knowledge will come to you automatically. So the Vedas are the foundation of Varnashrama Dharma, and Krishna Bhakti is the ultimate message of the Vedas. The purpose of Varnashrama Dharma is what? To please Vishnu. Swanishtitasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. Bhagavatam explains what for Varnashrama Dharma is there? To please Hari. But if you don't please Hari, then Varnashrama is useless. Varnashrama, the purpose is to please Hari. But if you are not pleasing Hari, Varnashrama is useless. Whereas, if you are not even following Varnashrama, but you have become a nice devotee of Krishna and serving him, then your life has become successful. So here, souls are wandering in this lion, in this elephant, in this zebra, in all these animals, there is a soul wandering. A similar soul is sitting in you and me. Please remember, we could have been in some African forest like a lion or a tiger. We have been. We have wandered in all these species, and today we have got this rare human form of life. We are able to hear Bhagavad Gita. We are able to hear about Krishna. Should we not take advantage of this opportunity? Otherwise, we will further sink and start traveling in all these bodies. Don't you feel now a surging compassion in your heart that so many souls are struggling in these so many bodies? When will they become free? When they will come to Krishna consciousness? See, there are so many religions which are ill-guiding the people. Unfortunately, if someone happens to take birth in such a religion which doesn't have the proper teachers and doesn't have the proper knowledge, what will happen to the followers? They will incur more sin and they will go down further. So we are all fortunate. We should take advantage with gratitude and we should try to share it with others. So your memory is perfect when you see Krishna in your hearts. So yoga and religion have the same meaning. What is that? To unite the soul with God. Please don't mistake uniting as becoming one with God. No. Real union is in love. When you two people love, when husband and wife love each other, they are supposed to be united. In a similar way, we as children of Krishna, we should unite with Krishna in love. That is the goal of life. So all other yogas should bring you to Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate yoga, the perfect yoga, the never-ending yoga. There, Bhakti Yoga never ends. Bhakti unites you with Krishna, and that is your perfection. All other yogas, they are called perfect when they lead you to Bhakti Yoga. So now Krishna explains who is Purusha Uttama, greatest living personality. There are two classes of beings. Please listen carefully. Two classes of beings. One is fallible, another is infallible. Fallible souls means they fall down. They go down. They degrade themselves. They are not in equilibrium. They are oscillating. They are called fallible. They are not trustworthy. That is called chuta. They fall down. The word chuta in Sanskrit means to fall down. So all of us are fallen souls. That is only what you have to understand. Because we have come into this material world and we have got into these material bodies and we have all become conditioned by the modes of nature, we are fallen souls. So we are all chuta. And what is the hallmark of a fallen soul? He keeps on changing body. In 84 lakh species, we keep migrating. End of one body, beginning of another body. End of another body, beginning of the next body. Like that we go on traveling in material world. But there are infallible souls also. Where are they? in the spiritual planets. They don't fall down. We read in another shloka, 7th shloka, Krishna said, those who come to me, they don't come back to this material world. That means they are not Chuta, they are Achyuta. Those souls which are in the spiritual planets, they are Achyuta. They don't fall down. They have immortal bodies. They don't become old or sick or die. They eternally remain in a body similar to that of Krishna. So they are the beings in spiritual world. We can also go there. So we are Chuta. We can become Achyuta when we go to the spiritual world. But please don't think we will become God. Please don't get that thought. Go to the third point here. Besides these two types of souls, the supreme soul, the imperishable Lord, he is the one who enters all the three worlds and maintains them. So he is the supreme Lord. He is master of everything. And then we are the souls. We are his energies. So we have fallen down. We should now go back to him and become perfect. Now we are imperfect. But when we go back to the spiritual world, we also become perfect. So now you understand what is the Leela which is going on. Krishna is reclaiming the souls back to the spiritual world. When we go back to the spiritual world, our life becomes perfectly joyful. So we should not waste time here. People who commit suicide, they are such big fools because they are consigning themselves to unlimited suffering. People who are surrendering themselves to sense enjoyment, they are also fools because they are settling for something very cheap. They are giving up something much higher which Krishna wants to offer them. So we are fallen souls. We should try to become infallible. But we should never think, I will become God. No, you will become united with God in love, prema. That prema will unite us with God. So 18th shloka. Yasmaksharam atitoham aksharaadapi chottamaha atosmi loke vedecha prathitha purushottamaha. Yasmaksharam atitoham aksharaadapi chottamaha atosmi loke vedecha prathitha purushottamaha. So here you see the word Purushottama is coming again and again. So this is the Purushottama Yoga. Because I am transcendental means beyond material world, beyond Sattva, Rajo, Tamoguna. Beyond both the fallible and infallible. Even the souls in the spiritual world, Krishna is greater than them. How he is greater? Because in quantity, Krishna is unlimited. And all the souls in the spiritual world are part and parcels of him, Amsa. Whether in this material world or in spiritual world, all the souls are his part and parcel. But he is the reservoir of everything. Everything comes from him. He is the source of material world, spiritual world, and the souls. So he is the greatest. And that is Purusha Uttama. So he says, I am celebrated in the world and in the Vedas as Purushottama. So what the Vedas describe as Purushottama, that is Lord Krishna. Purusha Uttama means the highest enjoyer. I explained Purusha means enjoyer. Male. So the greatest male is Krishna. And what is the female Prakriti? That is the energy of Krishna. So Krishna is enjoying himself. Krishna is enjoying his own energy. And who are the souls? We are also the energies of Krishna. So Krishna is multiplying himself in so many ways and enjoying. And he is the ultimate enjoyer. And we are to be enjoyed by him. When we allow ourselves to be enjoyed by Krishna, we get our greatest happiness. This is the perfection of our existence. So Krishna is the life of all life. Our life, the source of our life is Krishna. Like peeling an onion, our external body, our internal body, we go on removing. Finally, we come to the soul. But you go inside the soul, you will see Supreme Soul. So he is the source of all life. From him come everything. So he is the maintainer of all souls. He is the supplier of the needs and wants of all the souls. Nityo Nityanam Chetana Chetananam Yeko Bahuna Yo Vidadati Kama. Supreme Lord, what is the definition? He is among all living entities, he is one among them. But he is special because he is the one who is fulfilling the needs and wants of all of us. And who is supplying his needs? He is self-satisfied. He is in need of nothing. This is the understanding of God. So here is the Supreme Lord. We are talking about Purushottama, Krishna and Radharani, Supreme Lord and his eternal consort, Srimati Radharani. Let us take their wonderful darshan. This is coming from one of the temples of ISKCON in Mumbai, Radha Gopinath. So I just wanted to give you darshans of some of the temples. So this is 19th shloka. Yomam evam asammudho janati purushottamam sasarvavid bhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. Yomam evam asammudho janati purushottamam sasarvavid bhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata. Krishna is describing his pure devotees, what they are like. Whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not as some power or force or energy or cosmic power, something like that. No, as person. Whoever knows Lord Krishna as the Supreme Person without doubting, asammudho, no doubt should be there. Clearly you should know he is the Supreme Lord and I am his servant. If you know, then you are the knower of everything. I heard mentioned in an earlier class, I hope some of you will remember, scientists are looking to know the source of everything. They are looking for unification theory. They have found out different kinds of energies in this material world, and they found that matter and energy can be converted into each other, ultimate conservation of energy. But they still don't know from where these different energies are coming from. And here, Krishna is everything. Once you know everything coming from life, life comes from life. This scientists don't know. Scientists are still thinking life comes from chemicals. So they don't know anything. But the bhaktas of Krishna, they know everything. The source of everything is the supreme life, which is Krishna. And so a person who has understood this, he will become a full-fledged devotee of Krishna. So Krishna says, a devotee knows everything. One who is not a devotee doesn't know. But if you have become a surrendered devotee of Krishna, you don't have to look anywhere else. You know everything. This is Krishna's certificate. This is the last shloka of the chapter. Iti guhyatamam shastram idam uktam maya nagha etad buddha buddhiman syad krita krityascha bharata. Anaga means sinless. So Krishna is calling Arjuna as Anagha. O sinless one, I am teaching you the highest knowledge. Guhya tamam. Tamam means highest. Guhya means secret. Highest secret, Shastram, scripture I am teaching you. So let us see the translation. Knowledge of God is the highest. This is the most confidential part of Vedic scriptures, O sinless one, and it is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise, and his endeavor will know perfection. What will be his endeavor? Bhakti. He will start serving Krishna in bhakti, and will know perfection means he will return to Krishna permanently. He will never return to this material world of suffering. He will be eternally in spiritual world, constantly enjoying, exchanging love with Krishna and serving him in unlimited ways. So whoever understands this chapter, this Purushottama Yoga, they will become perfect and they will go back to Krishna. This is the blessing that Krishna is giving. So considering themselves enjoyers, souls are trapped in Maya. When I say souls, you and I, we are trapped in Maya by thinking I am Purusha, right? We are not Purusha. Who are we? We are Prakriti. This must be shocking for many of us. We thought male is Purusha, female is Prakriti. We are all female only. We are all the energy of Krishna. The Jiva is an energy of Krishna. The material world is an energy of Krishna. Spiritual world is energy of Krishna. And Krishna is the only Purusha. He is the enjoyer. So when we get this transcendental wisdom, then we return to Krishna. And then what happens? As Krishna enjoys us, we enjoy Krishna. This is how the male-female is created. The male as the enjoyer and the female as the enjoyed. That is the relationship between us and Krishna. We are to be enjoyed by him. That is a perfection. And how he can enjoy? When we fully surrender to him and we start serving him with love. Not for remuneration, We are not servants who are working for remuneration. As Krishna is perfect, we are also perfect. We are part and parcel of Krishna. So why we want to serve Krishna? Because we love him. It's our prema. And when we exhibit that towards Krishna, Krishna becomes happy. And when Krishna is happy, we become happy. Why? Because Krishna is the root of all existence. If you water the root, the whole tree gets nourished. Similarly, when you make Krishna happy, all of us become happy. This is the perfection of life. Here is a darshan of Lord Jagannath. Jagannath is a Lord of creation. He is the most merciful form of Krishna. This is Krishna. Jagannath and Krishna are one and the same, but he is specially merciful. In future classes, after Bhagavad Gita is over, we will discuss Jagannath Leela sometimes. And Purusha Uttama means he is the greatest enjoyer. And who are we? We are his parts and parcels. What do the parts do? They serve the whole. So we have to cooperate in his pleasurable pastimes, and that is when we become happy. If we try to separate ourselves from him, we are not happy. But when we try to unite with him in love, we become happy. That is perfection. Krishna loves all of us eternally. He knows we are his part and parcel, his children. He loves us eternally. When we reciprocate, we attain perfection. Not that when Krishna loves us, we get perfection. No, Krishna loves us already. But we have forgotten Krishna. We have come away from Krishna. Only by reigniting that love in our consciousness, it is already there. It is hidden. It is buried. We have to bring it out. We have to start experiencing that unlimited love of Krishna, which is buried deep in our heart. When we expose that, we attain perfection. So, when we lovingly surrender to him and serve him in that ecstatic love, then we are in perfection. So again and again, the point is, when we love Krishna, then we automatically serve Krishna. As our love becomes more and more pure and unselfish, unmotivated, we attain our perfection. Then we have no real need at all. Whatever we need and want today, it's all artificial, illusory. They don't really exist. The soul needs nothing. Soul is eternal, Satchitananda. So, Krishna is telling, whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting is the knower of everything, and he becomes my devotee. Here is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu right hand side, Nityananda left hand side. They are the incarnation of Lord Krishna and Balarama in this Kali Yuga 500 years ago. You will hear more about them in our future classes after Bhagavad Gita is over. So let us pray to them to give us this true knowledge beyond doubt. It takes time for us to come out of all our doubts. What to do? Do bhakti. Whatever be your problem, answer, do bhakti. There is no better way. I have committed a lot of sins. So what? So nothing. Do bhakti. Because bhakti is the perfect prayaschitta. Any other prayaschitta is inferior to bhakti. So even if you are a meat eater till today, if you are a drunkard, if you are a womanizer, absolutely no issues. Start doing bhakti. And all these ill qualities, habits from you will disappear by and by. Because you will get so much happiness from Krishna, all these inferior pleasures, you will spit on them. You will have no taste for them anymore. That is how it works. So here is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He made even animals dance in the forest of Jarikhanda. And who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? He is the combined form of Radha and Krishna. Radha Krishna Ekatanu hai. In one single form, he is Radha Krishna. He represents Krishna and he also represents loving service to Krishna in the mood of Radharani. So he is a special incarnation in Kali Yuga, very secret incarnation, because he never told I am God. Like today, so many people are telling I am Kalki Avatar and all. No, he never claimed he was God. And if anybody said he is God, he became angry on them. Only his very close, intimate associates knew him to be God. He did not allow anybody else to say that. So he came to show how to do Krishna Bhakti. So by following his instructions, let us surrender to him. The real surrender is following instructions, not simply raising my hands. That is not surrender. When I accept the instructions, that is when I truly surrender. So with this, we come to the end of this such a wonderful chapter called Purushottama Yoga. Anyone who has heard this chapter during this month of Purushottama, this month is called Purushottama Adhik Mas. So you are all fortunate. to be hearing this, and I am very fortunate to be narrating this. Please try and read this 15th chapter every day. This month continues till the coming Amavasya. This very special month. Any spiritual activity we do is multiplied thousands of times. So this is the best opportunity. Please try and read Purushottama Yoga daily. And also please chant as many malas of the Mahamantra as possible. Let us chant the Mahamantra 3 times, and with that we end the session. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much.